The Tie and Hoodie Show is sponsored by ICCLending.com. For real estate service, please go to ICCLending.com.
3, 2, 1.
Every human came to earth with a gift, and they must discover that gift and refine that gift for them to be fulfilled.
The prerequisite for spending time with any person is that they nourish and inspire you. They feed your flame.
Yo, hey man, how you work this radio?
You're not listening to the Tie and Hoodie Show.
Keep it locked.
Owning a home and paying it off is one of the data points of an everyday millionaire.
Home sales across the U.S. are on the rise as buyers take advantage of record low mortgage rates.
Good morning, morning, morning.
Now let's get back to the Tie and Hoodie Show.
Good morning, good morning. It's the Tie and Hoodie Show. I'm your host, Trevon Smith, also known as Trey, with my co-host, the one and only. He hates me saying it, but I like saying it. Andrew or Jesse Koba, how you doing?
I'm doing good. Good morning, listeners. Good morning, world. Good morning, KD. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Happy Sunday. It's a beautiful Sunday.
Yes.
People hit us up all week about where they can get the information at for the last shows. All you have to do is go to tieandhoodieshow.com. tieandhoodieshow.com. You can contact Andrew, you can contact me. You can go to our YouTube videos and watch the past shows, as well as get all the information you need. This show and all shows sponsored by ICC Lending, where it's the one-stop shop for all your home loans. Andrew, I'm excited about today's show.
I am. I'm excited about today's show. I'm excited about our guest. I know you're going to do the introduction, but guys, you are ready for a treat today.
Yeah. This guest right here needs no introduction to Los Angeles. He needs no introduction to the world. It's the one and only KAM. I know we have a lot of information that we need to get straight to. I just want to know, like, KAM, I want to know exactly what during this 2020 and 2021, what's some pointers or advice you would give as far as personal growth?
My part of being the show as the co-host, but thank you so much for again jumping. I'll let Brother KAM go ahead and answer that, and then I have a question I call myself a different kind of minority, you know.
Right.
So I have some questions. So I'll let you focus on that from Trevon, and then we'll go from there.
Yeah. So this, like you said, the personal growth and the knowledge that we, the most important knowledge that we should get is the knowledge of self. Mm-hmm. Knowledge of self. We human beings. We did, somebody created us. Not a knowledge of religion, but a knowledge of the science of what we are and how we are and why we are, and then the knowledge of who we are, especially as so-called minorities, but in fact we're the original people. So that knowledge should give you a certain kind of confidence and love for yourself that once you start loving yourself, then you start respecting yourself, and you won't just put up with anything. You won't allow yourself to be poor and ignorant or weak or an addict of this and an addict of that. So you don't have to go to some, American, European college to get that kind of information. That information is right here in your own DNA. You walk outside and look at the trees and the birds and the plants and nature. That is your first book. That's your Bible or your Quran or your Torah. And you yourself are the actual college or university book. Mm-hmm. All books and teachings come from human beings' experience. You got experience. We all got human experience. So you don't have to go get so-called validated by Europeans or universities or colleges or whatever. So the knowledge that we need is the knowledge of self and whatever that means to you. But, to me, it means that the nature, the universal identity of who you are. And that's not religion. So, even though I'm a member of the Nation of Islam or whatever, we're not even going to say that. We're going to keep it strictly nature and science and math and reality. So the more knowledge you get of that, it's going to automatically make your teeth grow. Like, like when you nurse from your mama's breast, just those nutrients is automatically going to grow the things in you and grow the ideas that you're supposed to have to make you do for self and become independent.
I mean, the thing you're saying, it relates a lot to where I come from, because I'm originally from Nigeria, coming out here to the US, and I had to accept and understand that there's something called minority. It's totally different from where I come from. Okay, you go to Nigeria, it's Nigerians. Okay, come out here, you are either black, white, Hispanic, or this. And it took years of understanding that to come and now say, okay, well, I think I know where I fit in. You know, even though I've worked in corporate culture, you know, most of my life, I've been probably the only black in most of the places I've worked at. And, you know, I never really understood it until recently, trying to see that, okay, there's a disparity here. You know, if you want to speak to international people as a whole, who are coming into America and trying to blend in and make a living, what would be your advice based on what you know, so they don't have to go through all of the headaches and say, why is somebody treating me this way? I don't understand. This should be the land of the free and for everybody. But that ain't the case.
Right. Yeah, that's part of the knowledge. You know, the knowledge that we need is not the knowledge of how things should be. I mean, we all know, you know, naturally that we all should be equal and should have human rights and should have civil rights and, you know, social justice, but the actual knowledge of how it is and the class or caste, whatever system of you know, poverty and racism that actually exists here. If you come into America, it's never been the land of the free for the people, the nation of people that this freedom and this superpower has been built on the backs and the blood of. So that's a requisite, a required knowledge that any immigrant has to have, especially if you're a black immigrant. Like in your case, you know, we over here, we're called the lost sheep. You know, the black people that have been enslaved for 400 years, we're the lost. We're mentally, you know, asleep. We're mentally dead because of slavery and dehumanization and being robbed of the knowledge of ourselves and our language and our names and all that. So from Nigeria, you know, like just for you, you know, you still speak a native tongue. You still familiar with your name and your land, and you know what I'm saying. So it's so many natural universal plugs that's still plugged in. But then when you come over here, you see your little brothers and sisters that's lost, and that we've been turned into enemies against ourselves. So if we don't respect ourselves, we can't respect you properly. We can't see you as our brother if we killing ourselves. So that's the knowledge that immigrants have to have about what's been done to a specific people that even made America as great and rich and powerful as she has become. It was all on the backs of black slavery. If you're a black person from Africa or, you know, anywhere around the world coming here, you have to realize and have the knowledge and understanding and the compassion about what has happened to your little brothers and sisters here and why we in this condition. And then once the colonizers that did this to us see that you're not one of those, then they're going to treat you better and say, stay away from your little brother. You don't have to really, you know, they're animals or this and that. And then they feed us the same thing about our brothers and sisters from Africa. Like, they hate you. Africans hate y'all. And, you know, so it's a big divide and conquer game that's been going on for millennia, you know what I'm saying, for thousands of years by these same people that you have to have a knowledge of that. This is not me trying to bash or, you know, but you have to call the truth what it is. You know, if you say too much truth like about these subjects, they call it hate. No, it's not hate. It's just you hate that I'm able to articulate it and I got the influence and the heart to tell it. You know what I'm saying? So it's not hate teaching, it's truth teaching that people hate. I mean, you know, wicked people hate.
Like your energy is like remarkable as far as like the magnetic forces. Because I watch people like even if they don't like you, they still got to get, like I was saying previously, they got to get a dose of KAM. Like, and if they like you, like myself, I check in daily, at least to see what you said or what you're going through. What's some things that, like, I've seen you transition from the 93 era to now. What are some things that helped you transition so people can understand what they might need to go through? And what's some things like is mandatory in your life as far as implement, like, this is what the centerpiece of KAM is?
It would have to be, well, let me see that, because it would just have to be a thirst for everybody say I just want to be happy and I want to be successful and all of that. That's just cliche. But in reality, you're born in an information war. We like, if you see this, there's always been a race war. There's a race war going on. You're born into a race war here.
Yeah. It's
like people that's born in Afghanistan or South Africa or Iraq or whatever. They didn't. The babies didn't choose. That nobody would choose to have to be forced and subjected and to this type of reality. But when you are and you're able to start trying to figure it out and not being emotionally manipulated because this person in your family is from this gang or that gang, like, you got to get a knowledge of why did we start gang banging in the first place? Why am I called such and such from this neighborhood and such and such from that neighborhood, like, and I'm in it. I'm born in a war zone, So if anything, I personally learned through loss, through suffering. You know what I'm saying? Suffering been my greatest teacher, and suffering is and struggle is not necessarily evil. It feels evil, of course, and some of it of course is evil. But it's just like if you can take emotion out of it and just look at it naturally and scientifically, even with COVID, it's a virus, and yeah, it's going to kill some cells, it's going to kill some organisms, but as it's exposed to those organisms, the organisms have a universal, magical power of developing. It's gonna receive that poison. The organism is gonna receive that virus. It's gonna kill some stuff, but then that organism is gonna mutate and adjust and adapt and produce some antibodies or whatever. So as long as you don't allow yourself to be destroyed by anything mentally, like it's a mental thing. Don't allow yourself to be destroyed or overcome or conquered or defeated mentally. Just hold on and keep on pushing like you did when you was a sperm, when you didn't look at no struggle as emotional. You just like, hey, this is what I'm here to do. You know what I'm saying? Destiny. Yeah, but it's something you have to do. You can't sit back and say it's a spirit Jesus or spirit Allah is going to take care of me, or God. Like, no, that God energy is in you. It's in the sperm. That's what keep him swimming. You got to keep moving. You got to keep struggling, keep fighting. So I don't know if I answered the question, but
you did. Hey, motivation, all gas, no brakes.
Yeah, I mean, I want to jump in and address again. This is Trevon. The reason why we mesh so well is he is sort of like my window into the African American world. So now I'm a U.S. citizen now, so I identify as Nigerian American, African American, Black, whatever you want to call it. But there's still I'm speaking for myself, and I think I'm speaking for a lot of immigrants who are Black. There's still that taste and that disconnect of why you mentioned it earlier. Why are Blacks just so angry, and so violent, and why can they? Maybe because in Nigeria we were colonized by the British. I learned a little English here and there, but still I still have my culture. They didn't take my culture away from me, But we come here and we're like, wow, why are you guys just so violent? And it has to be crazy violent music, and why can't you sing you some country music? I mean, those things I'm still learning from Trevon. Like the other day I asked
you froze.
Him a specific less. There's so many more fatherless Black families compared to Hispanics and Asians and white.
I want Cam to answer that.
What was the question? Because he froze a little bit where I'm at.
He asked me, go ahead, Andrew.
Yeah. I said, why are there so much less? Why is there so much less dads in the Black families compared to Hispanics? Because I've lived around Hispanics. There's a lot more dads at home. There's a lot more dads in Hispanic, in the Asians, in the whites. But when it comes to African Americans, a lot of people is like, oh, dad wasn't there. Oh, he wasn't around. Or he got shot or he's dead. Yeah. What's the reason for that?
Cam, I have one request.
It's Sunday, right? So we can go. Okay.
I want to hear the YouTube version.
What'd you say?
I want to hear the YouTube version.
Oh, YouTube version? Okay.
Give it to him. So I think it's important for people to know this.
Okay, well, this is not pushing, religion or whatever, but this is just a prophecy story that's mentioned in the Bible and Quran about the descendants of slaves or the children or the seed of. And it is what it is because it's all a plan of Pharaoh. These are all Pharaoh's resources. These are all the same people that enslaved us. These are the people that own and control and manipulate media and corporate America and the banking system, the finance system. Whose picture is on our money? What gender and what race is the picture of the people on the US dollar? And then underneath that, it says, in God we trust, right? So these are all behavioral science and psychological science. These are scientists of evil. These are not just, racist little people or whatever. They're scientists. They're behavioral scientists. They're actual physicists and chemists. I don't want to say certain names, but the people that's behind, pushing certain vaccines, and we don't know what's in the vaccines. These are scientists, and they know that the masses of the population, especially black people in America, don't know nothing about science. So they can master you and use you as tools and slaves because they have a certain knowledge of your own biology, your own anatomy of viruses and pathogens and microbes that we don't know nothing about. Not because we don't have the brain capacity and ability, but that light was deliberately kept from reaching our minds. That's why we're in a ghetto situation because we like Malcolm X said, we got poor schools, poor education, poor information, poor food. We didn't bring ourselves over here. We know the history of who brought us over here and what they did to us for 400 years, but then we also see what happened to the European Jewish people in Germany. They suffered a terrible Holocaust, but the will and the way was there for them in 1945 with President Truman to make sure that they get a whole separate state and territory of their own to heal and repair and get billions of dollars a year from America, from our tax dollars, from the black people, that was enslaved, that you're supposed to owe us 40 acres and a mule each. But not only don't we get that, we get taxed, and then our tax dollars goes to pay, to show that you know how to pay reparations and provide, all of that for somebody else. So you're dealing with that type of adversary, that type of satanic power. That's why the males are not present. That's why there's a shortage of males for black families and black women.
I want to pivot on that whole, because I'm still learning. I have two little boys, a 4-year-old and an 8-year-old. And, my wife is from Ghana in Africa. And we know that we want to bless them the so-called American dream, right? Which is what we hear on TV or what is sold to everybody. And, my kids are starting to ask, so is that person brown color or black? And I'm like, well, what I know, they call them black, and my wife goes politically, it means brown, so there's a lot that we Africans are trying to learn on how to adjust here. My question to you is so now that we know all of this story, what are the so-called black leaders doing, educating the younger ones coming so this doesn't keep happening? Because if the government is not going to do what happened to the Jews, how are blacks taking matters into their own hands and Hispanics into their own hands? If we have the brain power, How can we just, you know, do stuff and go forward, you know?
Yeah, we have the brain power, but we don't have the information, like we said, like you said, like how that was, whatever I just said to you, you picked it up like that, you know what I'm saying? You know, but with us, we don't, our ability to critically think and just listen to actual, you know, mathematical or provable truths, that's been traumatized by us through brutality and murder and fear and and poison food, and you know. So what happened to us in America, your little brothers and sisters in America, we're like the lions that's performing in some white ringmaster circus. You know, if you know, we naturally, if you've ever been to certain parts of Africa in the bush or whatever, you know, you can't take a full-grown lion that knows who he is and ship him to America and try to make him do some tricks in the circus. You know what's going to happen. Right?
Yeah, of course.
Right. So this is what happened to us. So knowing that they couldn't ever possibly do that, they have to let those wild natural lions mate, and then kill the parents and steal the cubs, and then take the cubs out of their natural environment, away from the language and the instincts and the powers and the support and the confidence of their natural species, and put it in some place neutral, like a middle passage, like the Caribbean, and then teach it to fear a little, whip, and you know, because if you can dominate something like while it's helpless in a helpless stage, then you're installing a lifelong fear, paralyzing, you know, mechanism on that organism, right? So you can feed his body all you want. It'll grow up and look like a big, you know, it'll have big, long, you know, paws and fangs and all of that, but you did something to it right here. You know what I'm saying? That even though I'm big, I'm 3 times bigger than you, and with one paw I could just swat your whole head off. I don't know that. I'm still stuck in when I was 3 months old and you was over me with the whip in the chair and you was able to terrorize me. So that's what happened to Black people in America. We're slaves of mental death and fear and torture. So even though you said, well, why won't we don't just get together? We're afraid. We're afraid. You know, why you don't just build another Black Wall Street? Because they bombed the first one. They bombed it. Like, okay, well, ants don't even use that excuse. If you have an ant mound in your front grass and you knock the ant mound, the ants ain't like, oh, we'll never rebuild another ant mound. Somebody knocked that over. They just gonna keep on rebuilding it, But us, we've been emotionally traumatized through terrorism and torture, and you know, so that's our problem. We're traumatized, mentally traumatized.
Big Cam, hey, we're gonna run out of time. Hey,
that was quick.
No. Hey, 30 minutes.
We gotta do this again.
We gotta do this again because we definitely don't want you to be a stranger here. But I want you to give out your information where people can reach you at, because I know you got the book War in Heaven, right? War in Heaven, the book. So I want people to go ahead and go get that. Give them the information where they could get that, or IG or whatnot. Right. And like I said, we got a couple minutes to talk about the ionic silver.
Oh yeah. Well, you can get it on my website, WestCoastCam.com. It's easy to remember. It's my name, WestCoastCam.com. And you know, I wrote my first book, which is not a rap book. It's not a hip hop book. It's not a street book. It's not a religious book. It's a relationship book. It's called War in Your Heaven: The Black Man's Relationship Problems with His Black Woman Today and the Feared Solutions. You know, so it is talking about some of the stuff I just mentioned, but that's part of the growth and the success is family. Like Andrew was asking earlier, family is actually the foundation. But if we don't have a knowledge and a love for ourselves, how can we possibly have a loving, successful unit, you know, family unit? Because if you don't have family, if that's not your moral base, you're not gonna be successful in nothing. Because if I can't trust you to remain, you know, integrity partners with a personal spouse or a family, like I really can't trust you with my money. Like I don't want to do business with somebody that's not a family man, you know. So, and then another thing is, you know, I got a supplement which is silver, ionic colloidal silver. and it's a natural immune booster. It's not a drug. It's non-toxic. It's, you know, for those that don't know, colloidal silver is proven for medical and scientific peer-reviewed published papers for almost 100 years to kill over 650 disease-causing viruses, pathogens, microbes, fungus, bacteria.
Oh, man.
Yeah, so I got that available. I've been making that for my own family for about 11, 12 years now.
I've seen the babies taking it.
Yeah, and I'm not saying that this is a cure. I'm not a medical professional. This is not no medical claims. This is just, you can research for yourself what it does. I've been using it, you know, it definitely, yeah, my family never been vaccinated, never been sick, never had no disease, never been to no hospital for no health problems. So just look into that, WESTCOASTCAM.com, and then you can find me on social media at WESTCOASTCAM, you know, everywhere.
Yeah, man, we definitely appreciate you for checking in with us today. We're going to have to, I'm going to talk to Andrew. We're going to have to definitely get you on.
We have to. I have so much questions for you. It's almost like I just met my dad from 40 years ago. I'm like, where have you been? Tell me about America, because, you know, there's so much that has happened in my life in the last 22 years being here, you know, having to train people in my jobs that became my boss. You know, I mean, that's another story for you, okay? I mean, because I worked in a predominantly Caucasian companies. So there's so much that we need to educate people about. And that way, you know, I'm, again, as a dad looking at my kids, I don't want them to get to that situation. It's like, why? You know, I have to tell them ahead of time and get them prepared and not have them go through the stories that you're telling me now, you know?
Right. But you're not to cut you off, like you got the blessing, and it's Sunday again, so I'm just saying some little Sunday school stuff for those that's into church. You know, when Jesus, you know, the little Christ child, you know, was born in the North Star and this and that, you know, it's no coincidence that we just had the great conjunction with Saturn and whatever the other planet is, but that's signs in the heaven. But when Jesus was just born, it was, they say 3 wise men, but it was actually just wise men that recognized something about this new child, their little brother that was being born. And they recognized that, you know, we wanted to come and show our respect and help our little brother. And so they dropped some, you know, they was wise men from the East. That's where Andrew is from. You know, I'm not going to get into, you know, certain racial stuff, but that's all fulfilling, like recognizing they little brothers, and, you know, and I want to help you survive because I recognize you, my little brother, and you got a bright future. But if I'm wise, I need to drop some golden information and some golden support on you to help you reach your destiny, and God will bless us all. So I'm not trying to be on no religion or nothing like that.
There's nothing wrong with it, man.
It's Sunday morning. Yeah, sure. I mean,
Cam, we appreciate you, man. I know when your people call, they say, hey, my man got different meetings and stuff. But look, let's talk and get you back on here. And we, like I said, the people of LA is fortunate to have you speaking to them this morning. The Ty and Hoodie Show is fortunate to have you on here. It's tyandhoodieshow.com. We'll have all Cam's information up where you can get his book at, his Ionic Silver. Cam, once again, we appreciate you. K-Day loves you. You already know I was in them meetings. Cam is part of the foundation for K-Day. So, man, once again, we'll check in with you, and thank you again, brother.
Hey, do you have valuable information that can help your community?
Okay.
And you'd like to be a guest? Hit us on our social media.
Do it now.
The Ty and Hoodie Show is sponsored by ICCLending.com. For real estate service, please go to ICCLending.com.